We have one mission.
Mission?
But we're two distinct individuals. Both working separately.
Where's my bedroom?
Bedrooms?
Where's my bedroom?
Rocky wanted to be human technology.
Dude, he's unstoppable.
Project Hail Mary is based on the best-selling novel of the same name. It will make you laugh, cry, and sit on the edge of your seat. In fact, you won't even notice that it's a 2.5-hour movie. Today we are going to make the absolute most of the time. We will break down English expressions, master the film's clever humor along with the first time watching movie reactions. This will help you see what native speakers find funny and understand their jokes. And most importantly, we will tackle grammar and sentence structures with the help of the most adorable alien in cinema history. This character has such a pure, lovable soul that you can't help but adore him. Before we meet our alien friend, let's look at the story.
I would not feel safe with that.
Ryan Gosling plays Ryland Grace, a science teacher who wakes up from a long coma on a spaceship with amnesia.
Damn,
Where am I? And then you immediately get the response right there.
As his memory slowly returns, he realizes our sun is dying because a strange space parasite is draining its energy along a mysterious infrared line called the Petrova line.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not good at jokes.
Not good at jokes, who?
Grace is followed by top leader of the global task force. As Ryland has doctorate in molecular biology, they trust him to examine the black dots they call astrophage.
Am I expendable? Is that why you want me?
That's not the only reason.
It's not the only.
So, this is dangerous, but Grace's reaction makes it funny. He asks, "Am I expendable? Is that why you want me?" What does he mean? This word can play a trick on you because there is expandable with an E and expandable with an A, pronounced almost the same. Expandable with an A means something that can grow larger in size, it can expand. Example, my suitcase is expandable so I can fit more clothes inside it. Expandable with an E means something that is not valuable, can be easily replaced or can be sacrificed. When Grace asks, "Am I expandable?" he's asking, "Do you think my life is worthless? Am I easily replaceable to you?" Now, when Grace examines 3 strange space cells under a microscope, he makes a funny discovery about how they travel.
Consume the sun's energy and then they expel it for propulsion.
Cool.
They toot to scoot, basically.
Toot to scoot.
He doesn't use boring heavy science words. Instead, he says, they toot to scoot, basically. Native speakers love using rhyming phrases like this to make English sound fun. To toot is a silly word for releasing a little burst of gas or sound, and to scoot means to leave or rush away quickly. So they shoot out energy to push themselves forward. If you want to leave a place quickly, you can tell your friends, "All right, guys, I have to scoot." Grace discovered how the astrophage can breathe, which made him super important because they need astrophage as the fuel to power the spaceship, and find out why the only star in the space is not getting infected.
And of course they would make it a fuel. They were like, oh, toot to scoot, so...
Grace travels millions of miles to a distant star system to study this Petrova line and find a cure.
The zero gravity starts kicking in.
What the fudging?
But while he's checking the area, another giant spaceship suddenly appears.
Blip A detected.
What's a blip A?
What the heck?
Suddenly, while Grace is working, the ship's computer warns him, "Blip A detected." But what exactly is a blip? Originally, a blip is a tiny flashing dot you see on a radar screen when it finds an object, used in aviation, navy, and sci-fi contexts. Because the computer doesn't know it's an alien ship yet, It simply labels the object as target A or blip A. In everyday life, English speakers also use the word blip to describe a very small short-term problem that doesn't really matter. For example, our team lost one game after winning 10 in a row, but it was just a blip, meaning a minor temporary setback.
Oh.
Flip B detected.
Do we catch it? Is it a bomb?
Shields up!
There are no shields on board the
Why
helicopter.
not?
Why not? Doink.
Well, I guess there's egg on both our faces, huh, Mary?
Grace sighs and says, "Well, I guess there is egg on both our faces, huh, Mary?" This introduces a fantastic English idiom, to have egg on your face. It means to feel completely embarrassed or foolish because you overreacted or made a silly mistake. It sounds funny because Grace uses personification, treating AI computer like a real human by saying on both our faces. Example, I told everyone I would easily pass the driving test, but then I failed immediately. I really have egg on my face now. When you're practicing English and make a mistake, don't worry about having egg on your face. It's all part of the learning journey.
Oh no,
Bro.
he lost it.
Yay! He did it. Dude, I did not expect this movie to be this funny.
It is hilarious, dude.
The alien ship wants to initiate contact and builds a connecting tunnel.
Oh my god. See? See?
Is that me?
That is so cute.
Finally, we meet the alien. He looks like absolutely nothing we've ever seen before. He's cute, super friendly, and even funny.
I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. You know, because you look like a giant rock.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense.
A living rock.
My atmosphere would kill him and his me. I like to keep a wall up in my relationships anyways.
Yes.
Grace takes a deadly dangerous sci-fi situation and turns it into a funny joke about his own personality flaws. He implies that he is bad at romance because he emotionally blocks people out anyway. I like to keep a wall up in my relationships anyways. He combines the literal meaning, building a physical barrier made of brick or stone to separate two spaces. If they touch or share the same air, they will both instantly die because their atmospheres are completely different. And a metaphor meaning of this expression. In psychology and relationships, keeping a wall up means protecting your feelings by not letting people get too close to you emotionally. Example, after getting my heart broken, I put a wall up and stopped dating.
And if I can't understand what he's saying, which is most of the time, he puts on a little puppet show for me and my tiny brain. And you know what?
He's like, I don't mind it.
He's kind of growing on me. At least not growing in me, you know, which was a concern for a little while.
Here is another joke and a wordplay. The humor comes from the sudden shift between a sweet emotional idiom and a terrifying sci-fi horror reality. Grace says, "He's kind of growing on me. At least he's not growing in me." This is a classic English wordplay joke that relies entirely on prepositions. To say that someone or something is growing on you is a very common English idiom. It means you didn't like them very much at first, but over time you are starting to like them more and more. In this scene, Grace didn't know if he could trust this strange faceless alien, but after spending time together, he realizes how kind and helpful Rocky is. He's starting to genuinely like him. To say something is growing in you is completely literal. It means a physical object, a disease, or a parasite is growing inside your body. This is a brilliant Easter egg references Ridley Scott's sci-fi horror masterpiece Alien. If you watched it, you know exactly what it looks like. For our grammar focus today, look at how a tiny change from on to in completely changes the entire meaning of a sentence. Prepositions really do matter.
Whoa.
Oh, cool. I'm glad they showed that.
So
Seeing it
it's-
from his POV.
Rocky doesn't actually have eyes or the same sense of vision that we do. Because of this, Grace cannot simply point to written words or numbers to teach him English. Instead, he comes up with a genius plan. He decides to record Rocky's unique musical language so he can translate it using a computer.
Recognize this? We call it astrophage. Astrophage on me, star, bad, yeah.
Both have the same exact issue.
Let's look at Rocky's very first translated sentence. Astrophage on me, star, bad. Notice how Rocky uses the word me instead of my. He means the star eater on my star is bad. Now you might think this is just a funny alien mistake because he has not learned possessive adjectives like my or yours yet. But did you know that millions of native English speakers say this every single day? In many British and Irish dialects, people naturally swap my for me. You will often hear someone from Northern England say, I'm going to visit my mom, or where are my keys? While you shouldn't write this in a formal school exam, it is a perfectly normal part of spoken British English culture.
Oh, Rocky happy not alone.
Now let's look at Rocky's next heartwarming sentence. We all know exactly what he means, but grammatically it's not correct. Let's play a game. Can you make this sentence sound right? You have 5 seconds to correct it. If you need more time, pause the video. Let's go. Let's break it down. In English, every sentence needs a verb. Before adjectives like happy and alone, we always need the verb to be. Let's keep Rocky's authentic style in speaking in the third person. Rocky is our singular subject. Therefore, we change the verb to be into is. That gives us 2 clauses. Rocky is happy and Rocky is not alone. Finally, to connect these 2 parts smoothly, we need a conjunction like because. Put it all together and the perfect sentence is Rocky is happy because he is not alone. Excellent job if you got that right.
Why are you alone?
Now only one. What happened?
It's like him. They're the only ones left.
Let's look at the next deeply emotional sentence Rocky shares with Grace. Was 23 Iridians on ship, now only 1. That is incredibly sad. We instantly understand that Rocky lost his entire crew. Can you fix this sentence using correct standard English? Let's do that. First, let's look at the phrase was 23 Iridians. In English, when we want to state that something exists or existed in a place, we must use the structure there is or there are. Because Rocky is talking about a past event, we need the past tense. Since 23 is a plural number, we cannot use was. We must use were. So it becomes there were 23 Iridians. Second, let's look at on ship. In English, a ship is a singular countable noun. It cannot stand alone without an article or possessive adjective. We need to add the or our. That gives us on the ship, on our ship. Finally, let's fix the second half. Now only 1. This is missing both a subject and a verb. To make it complete, we need to add there is before only 1 to show who is remaining. If we put the whole thing together into a beautifully polished English sentence, it sounds like this. There were 23 Iridians on the ship, but now there is only 1.
How did they die?
Rocky not know. Only Rocky not died. Rocky could not fix. This is a very emotional revelation, but grammatically is not correct. Let's help turn Rocky's words into standard English. Let's go. Let's break down these 3 short sentences one by one because they teach us 3 huge grammar rules. First, Rocky says, Rocky not know. To make a negative sentence in the present simple tense, we cannot just use not. We always need the negative helping verb do not or does not, followed by the base verb. So it becomes Rocky does not know. Rocky says, only Rocky not died. Here he's trying to express that he's the survivor. In correct English structure, we place did not before the verb. But wait, since did is already in the past tense, our main verb must change back to its base form. So died becomes die. The correct phrase is only Rocky didn't die. Finally, Rocky says Rocky could not fix. This is actually almost perfect. Could not is the correct past tense of cannot. However, the verb fix is a transitive verb. It needs an object. What could he not fix? The problem. So we just need to add the pronoun it at the end. Rocky could not fix it. Now, prepare to have your mind completely blown. When Rocky says he's the only survivor, Grace discovers a shocking fact that only book readers know. Rocky wasn't just alone for a few weeks or months. He was completely alone in that star system for 46 years before Grace showed up. That is longer than Grace's entire lifespan. Think about how lonely that must have been. This tragic backstory is why Rocky is so deeply excited and happy to make a new human friend. He finally has someone to talk to after nearly half a century of silence. Like the video, write your comments, write your impressions and thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. There is a detailed film review on the channel for your speaking topic and reading practice. Check it out.
Oh, there were 3 of us and 2 died on the way here.
Now it's Rocky's turn to ask the questions. How many humans on Grace's ship? Can you fix Rocky's question so it sounds grammatically perfect? Remember to follow this question structure. First, let's look at Grace's ship. In English, when something belongs to a person, we must show possession. Because the ship belongs to Grace, we need to add an apostrophe S to the end of his name. This changes Grace's ship into Grace's ship. Second, just like we learned earlier with the 23 Iridians, when we ask about the existence of plural things, we must use the verb structure there are. In a question, the verb swaps places and comes first. So we need to add are there right after the question words how many humans. When we put those 2 missing pieces into the question, it becomes beautifully correct. How many humans are there on Grace's ship? Brilliant job. You just mastered plural questions and possessive nouns in one go.
Grace, Rocky, save stars. That's precisely it, man.
Aww.
I'm loving this, man. Wow.
This is so sweet.
Got me weirdly emotional.
Yeah.
Fist bump, by the way.
Fist bump.
What's that? Fist my bump.
Fist my bump.
This is a hilarious example of how changing word order can completely alter the meaning of a phrase.
It's not the same.
In English, fist bump is a compound noun, but Rocky accidentally turns fist into a verb which means to punch something. For your grammar tip today, remember that word order matters. Swapping your nouns and verbs can turn a sweet gesture into a very funny misunderstanding.
Very bad at make model.
Oh,
The way Rocky laughs, I love it.
Grace very bad at make model. Ouch! Let's turn Rocky's words into a perfectly correct English sentence. 5 seconds. Go. First, just like before, we need the verb to be to connect our subject to our adjective. Because Grace is a singular person, we add the verb is right after his name. That gives us Grace is very bad. Second, let's look at make model. In English, there is a strict golden rule. Whenever a verb comes directly after a preposition like at, in, on, off, that verb must change into its ing form, which is called a gerund. So make must change into making. Finally, because a model is a singular countable noun, we need an article like a before it. Put it all together and the perfect sentence is Grace is very bad at making a model. You can use this exact formula in your own life to talk about your skills. For example, I am very good at learning English.
do we really need this whole model? Oh boy.
Do we really need this whole model? Rocky fires back with need know, why star not die, need plan, need model to make plan. Grace's question is dumb. Wow. Rocky does not hold back. He completely shuts Grace down. Can you fix Rocky's explanation into standard grammatically correct English? Let's go. First, Rocky keeps dropping the subject we before the verb need. Need to do what? So, need know and need plan must become we need to know and we need a plan. Second, let's look at why star not die. Any space-related objects, apart from planets' names, are used with an article the. To make not diagrammatically correct in the present tense, we need the helping verb does not. This gives us why the star does not die. Finally, look at the very end. Grace's question is dumb. Just like we learned with Grace's ship, we must show possession by adding an apostrophe s to his name. It must be Grace's question is dumb. If we put all together into standard English, Rocky's response sounds like this. We need to know why the star doesn't die. We need a plan. We need a model to make a plan. Grace's question is dumb.
You know, I used to have one of these in my classroom. That is a great question.
Can you find any mistakes in this question? Why is a school teacher in space? It is perfectly correct. Rocky listens to the sentence patterns and question structures of Grace's language. The more he listens, the fewer mistakes he makes. So what is the conclusion? The secret to mastering English isn't memorizing boring grammar books for hours. It's active listening and immersion. Just like Rocky, you need to listen closely to native patterns, practice with a friend, and never be afraid of making mistakes. That's why learning English with movies is one of the best ways to study. Of course, Rocky still has a lot to learn and will keep making mistakes, just like any other language learner. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next lesson.
If we're gonna save our planet, we have to learn how to communicate.